For this panel, I am particularly honored to present to you. However, I do need to clarify that for the purposes of this panel alone, I will not be speaking in my capacity as the program manager of Euraccess North America. If you can refer to the program, I will be speaking in my capacity of my involvement with the Joint European Mentoring Initiative, JEMI for short.
I get to see this room from a different angle now. It's a bit different. Thank you so much, Dimah, for the introductory words. I'm excited that I can actually have the opportunity to share with all of you today a bit more about why OSTA, the office that I work for here, the Office of Science and Technology Austria, supports and has supported JEMI, the Joint European Mentoring Initiative, from the very beginning. Share a little bit about the role that the different European science diasporas and stakeholders have had in developing JEMI and bringing it to a point where we are currently with the pilot program going through the first 5 pairings. And then I want to briefly kind of have an outlook and share what my vision for JEMI going forward would be. For us at the OSTA and our diaspora RINA, the Research and Innovation Network Austria, that the minister referred to in his speech this morning, where we have 3,000 Austrian researchers who are currently doing their work in North America, as well as our sister network, Astina, that Dietrich earlier, I don't know where he is right now, but he's somewhere in the stage, that Dietrich earlier introduced, have been very active and very involved in the development of JEMI from the very beginning. The reason can be summed up, I think, very well in a phrase that I recently heard and I want to share with you. We all don't start in the same place, but we do deserve the same chances. And I feel that I see a lot of scientists in my role that I have here at the embassy that come from Europe to North America. And North America doesn't just present a new everyday life. Things are a bit different here, but they present also challenges. And over the years, I've seen that scientists who come here oftentimes have challenges with a more intense focus that American researchers may have on collaboration. They encounter colleagues who are more open-minded in their approach to research. They are exposed to settings in which exchange and discussions are encouraged, and also where taking risks is actually also more encouraged than discouraged from Europe. But at the same time, I also see scientists who've already landed where they want to be in their career ladder. People who have had help along the way as they were going where they are right now, and many of those want to give back. They want to pay it forward, and many of them are actually looking for opportunities to mentor young researchers and help them along in their career development. To me, mentoring can help level the playing field a little bit for Europeans that come to North America. I think with mentoring, everybody has the opportunity to get same chances, no matter where their heritage or educational background may be. With our diaspora RINA, our role is to support Austrian researchers in their career development while they're here in North America. So our focus is not bringing Austrians back like other diasporas may have, but our focus is supporting people here to be the best that they can be while they're in North America. And with that in mind, we've set out a portfolio of programs that matches very well with what JEMI is doing on a daily basis. With our programs, we strengthen transatlantic relationships. We inform about career and research opportunities. We support establishing research collaborations. We provide networking opportunities, and we offer a platform so that our researchers can share their accomplishments with Austria and with the world. And I feel that all those things are things that are reflected in what JEMI does so well every day, and this is the reason why we thought such a mentoring program would be a wonderful fit for our diaspora and for our office. Now, on to the other stakeholders that were involved with JEMI from the beginning. From the perspective of the EU science diasporas, who contributed to JEMI and who are still currently actively involved. For us, and for most of you, I'm sure science has no borders. As scientists, as many of you travel the world, you don't only leave your mark wherever you go, you also form long-lasting relationships, you make connections, and you build networks. And these networks and the mentors that you meet along the way are who support you in your essential career development. It's not the counselor who's helping you at the university. It's those people that you meet along the way that make you into the person and into the researcher that you are. And that's something that we kept in mind at every single step of the way as we were building JEMI to what it is today. I think, I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but we started JEMI essentially 4 years ago. And we were very fortunate to have many different players and helping hands involved. We have on the one side the European science diaspora leaders who were very actively engaged. Also many scientists who didn't have the backing of formal diasporas supporting them. As Dimah mentioned earlier, not every country and scientist has a diaspora to back them up. We have representatives of EU member states that were helping out. Many of them are sitting in embassies here in Washington, D.C., that were supporting the case. Definitely Euraxis, the two ladies that were helping bring JEMI to the forefront. We have the Marie Curie Alumni Association North America that was involved from the beginning. I don't know if Mary's still here, the EU delegation to the United States, European Horizon, but also organizations that are interested in promoting science in general, such as the AAAS and other NSF, all those other people that we had exchanges with. The very first step for all of those stakeholders was to together decide that we wanted to do something together to help young, not just young, to help scientists who are coming here from Europe. So we didn't know when we started out what it is we really wanted to do, and we spent the first few years, many meetings, many calls, many exchanges, trying to find out from our individual diasporas and scientists what it is that they really needed. And after a little while, it was very clear that mentoring was one of the topics that was not just a concern, but that would be of use to all of you and to all of them. And I think about 2 years ago or so is when we decided that mentoring would be the topic that every European country that was involved, every science diaspora and all the other stakeholders that we've had, that they wanted to go forward and support this. That was huge. I counted up, Dimah, I think about a week or so ago, we had 26 different players involved. And it's not easy, trust me, on a European scale, also with policy being involved in some way, shape, or form to get to one topic that everybody could agree on. So what we did since we decided on the topic is all those supporters split up in working groups so that we could focus on the 3 main areas that were important to decide. On one hand, we looked at all the diasporas that already had mentoring programs to find out what are the best practice models, what are the things that work, that don't work, what are challenges. We wanted to learn from others so that we could start at a good level with our first pilot program. We were also looking at different opportunities, how we could secure funding for JEMI. Since so many different countries are involved, different stakeholders, it wasn't clear, should it be university funding, should it be funding from an official EU grant, should it be a specific country that should support JEMI? Currently, JEMI is running without funding. Just like Dietrich mentioned earlier, as seen as run by volunteers, JEMI currently is also run by volunteers. And the third major point that the working groups focused on is who should be eligible to serve as a mentor, and who would the people be that we'd like to invite for the first pilot program to be mentored, so our mentees, because the greater goal for us was to make JEMI interdisciplinary, intersectorial, independent of citizenship and geographic location, but most importantly of all, complementary to all the other mentoring programs that were out there from the different diasporas and different countries. And the result is what you see here today, that we're gonna hear a bit more about what people do on a daily basis, being a mentor and being a mentee. With the mobility of researchers, for me it's very clear that, as I mentioned earlier, science has no limits, and my hope for JEMI is that there won't be limits either. My hope is that going forward there will be many helping hands that can help JEMI tackle the challenges ahead. I believe that RINA, that's the diaspora that I support, that also other scientific diasporas, and all of you, if you're interested and motivated to help fellow scientists. I think all of us should pool forces so that we can together build a global mentoring initiative to benefit researchers of all disciplines, of all career stages, in any geographic location, from any country, with any citizenship, who are doing research anywhere in the world, with the goal to support globally mobile researchers. Thank you.
This is a very, very dear topic to my heart, to me personally, but I think I speak to everyone on the panel and to Vicky as well, that it's to each and every one of you being a participant and being part of this pilot. But before I start, I want you all to take a moment and just think, have you ever received a piece of advice from anyone in your life that wasn't a parent, an older sibling, or a professor? Just a piece of advice that you felt, wow, this could really change everything, or in fact it has. Just take a moment, and if you've ever gotten that kind of support, a piece of advice that you weren't accepting but were very grateful to get, please raise your hand. Yeah, because you know what? We all get to a point where we could use that help, where we don't want to feel like we are alone. And I only just joined Euraxis in 2017, so last year. And I had personally been working on building a similar network for African scientific diaspora, for the African scientific diaspora. And so when I heard about this platform that is Euraxis, I was very happy to join. And then I find out that there are these organized European scientific diasporas who come together, and then there's an annual meeting, and then they're discussing common topics and common areas of interest. And oh, hang on, they're talking about mentoring, supporting other researchers who might be coming to this place and have all kinds of questions, like the questions I personally had when I came here. And there's a network for it, or at least there's a hope for it. So we would like JEMI here, the management team of JEMI, would like to thank and acknowledge Euraxis North America's role in providing this platform. And again, I link back to the question I asked earlier, does anyone have the wish or the intention to build a diaspora? Because that is what Euraxis North America is here for, to provide the platform. Now, they have generously provided the space for us to speak, but as far as getting it up and running, that started this year, earlier this year. So just a show of hands, how many were present in our annual meeting last year at the French Embassy? So for those of you who don't know, last year is when we officially launched the Joint European Mentoring Initiative, and we were extremely excited to have sign-ups for the management team, for the mailing list, and also get the support from some of the member states, and very specifically from some great and very engaged science counselors. And I won't get into naming them because my fear of public speaking will probably have me forget someone, and that's not nice. But we would like to take a moment to acknowledge all of them and everyone who has contributed. So Vicky and I were left at a stage where Euraxis can no longer finance or provide the resources for JEMI to take off or to move forward as a program, as a pilot even. So it was put all this work up until the launch to the side, or work with what we have. And it had only been a year where I'm seeing the work of the diaspora, but Vicky has been working with this for a while, with leading scientists, European scientists here. So really, truly, it just boiled down to being inspired. If all these scientific diasporas, all these researchers and scientists can come together on a volunteer basis and build something where they come together and support each other, why not try to see how it would work before we approach the management team who signed up to volunteer? Before we tell them, please give us your time when we can't support or reciprocate the effort that you will put, we wanted to see that first we would be able to do it personally. And so we've taken on JEMI on a personal capacity. And we started with 5 pilots, 5 mentors, 5 mentees, and we were so grateful, and still are, to have Marie Curie Alumni Association support and Marco personally support, because there was no way we would have been able to call for mentees, release a call for mentees and a call for mentors, and go through the applications and then go through the matching process when we both have 2 to 3 other jobs and wear at least 7 other hats, at least. So Marie Curie stepped in, and I will not delve into that because Marco will share why and how they have supported. But moving forward, again, it was a colossal undertaking. It is a colossal undertaking. Just to use the words of our colleague and friend, and essentially a founder of JEMI as well, Gerrit Rosler, was saying, it is a colossal undertaking. And so how do we take bits and pieces of it and see, is there room for it to grow? And so we released the call for the mentees, European scientists in North America, and MCAA released the call for the mentors. And it was really just to see who's interested in what. So we decided, we have 5 mentees. Let's have a section on research career development, if you're looking to get mentored in research career development specifically. Another one was geographic relocation, someone who has just recently relocated because of their research career and would like support. The other one was networking, if you need help to network for your research career and finding other opportunities. And finally, industrial mentoring. Where do you find help if you are trying to make that transition from academia into industry? And I may be biased, but we have sent out evaluations, and this has only been 3 months now, and the evaluation has been very positive, and I hope you will hear more about it from the mentor and the mentee, from Ellen and Angela, who we have here. But there is definitely something here to start, and I don't know where it will go specifically, and I know this doesn't really inspire confidence, but I really say I don't know because I want to hear what the mentor and the mentee have to say as far as their personal experience. So far, all I have and all we have as JEMI is some words on a screen from an evaluation form that they have been asked to fill in so we can make this presentation happen. But let's see how these emotions go, and I think Ellen might share with you. We got a bit emotional yesterday when we were talking about JEMI and how the feedback is, and you might find a bit of that today as well. But after that, I'll have a lot of questions, and I'll jump in to the presentation again to say how we plan on moving forward and how you can personally get involved should that be something of interest. And I will leave it here. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi. So first of all, I would like to thank Vicky and Dimah for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here at this meeting. It's a great meeting, so thank you. I'm Marco Masia. I'm board member of the Marie Curie Alumni Association. So maybe this morning you have heard a lot about the Marie Curie programs of the Commission, like research programs funded by Commission. What we do is just gather all together people who have or have had these grants. Our members are mostly from all over the place. They are really mostly Europeans, but not only Europeans. We have many from Asia, some Americans as well. And they live all over the place. So we have now national chapters here in North America. We have national chapters, of course, all over Europe. And I would say that our association is an association of diasporas, in a slightly different sense than the diasporas that you have here, because here the diasporas are all kind of based on nationality. What we have are people living in one country, and even if they are not nationals of the country, they are part of the community, of the local community. And this helps a lot to kind of integrate them in the local community as well. So as Association of Researchers, we now have more or less 12,000 members. And we see that there are a lot of needs from researchers in terms of career development to find their way for their career development in any sense, both for people who are in academia who would like to stay in academia or transition to the industry, but also to people who have already transitioned to the industry and wants to keep the contact to academia and maybe work a little bit there. Among the many things of the career development, one very important thing that we identified already almost 3 years ago was mentoring. So we decided to start a program for mentoring. We have a lot of early career researchers. More or less half of our membership is made of early career researchers. So the idea was to start a program for them to find out their career development plan. And so what we started talking about it. We are all volunteers, and the things took a little bit longer than expected. So actually, we launched the call for mentors and mentees just 1 year ago. Probably it was November or October last year. And we had a lot of success. So we had a lot of people applying with different motivations. But for organizational reasons, the program hasn't started yet. So we still have to match the mentors to mentees. So it's taking quite long. In the meantime, JEMI was starting, and I think that it was more or less 1 year ago that I spoke to Vicky, and she told me about it with a lot of enthusiasm. And I liked a lot the vision of JEMI, because in our case, the mentees would be only members of the association, right? And of course, we have many members, so it's fine. But I like the vision that is kind of more open for JEMI, and it's just anything would be good, right? So mentors or mentees for any diasporas, for any nationality, countries, whatever. And so we decided as an association to collaborate with the project, and some of us joined the management team. I think it's 3 or 4 of us. And so since our program was kind of very slow to start, we decided to open the call for mentors to the mentors we already had. We had a list of more or less 80 mentors. And so what we did was contacting them, telling them about JEMI, what the idea was, and ask them if they wanted to join also JEMI. And more than half of them responded almost immediately. It was like from one day to the other. So we had a list of many mentors eventually, and then that's what I passed to Vicky and Dimah for doing the matching to the mentees later. So our mentors are not only for the association, because when we opened the call last year for mentors, we opened it to any researchers in any part of the world. So the mentors are, some are based here in the US also, some others in Europe, and yeah, so they are not only members of the association, but are mostly researchers and experienced researchers. This is more or less what we did for making the matching. I must say that I'm very one of the early believer in the project. I think that it's very nice, and the nicest part of this project is that I understand that diasporas here in the US are kind of country-based, right? Because of many reasons. And the nice thing of the project is that it gathers together all these diasporas, and you get mentors from one diaspora, maybe having mentees from another country, which I think is a very good added value. So I hope it takes off and it's successful.
Thank you so much, Dimah. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Victoria and Dimah for inviting me to this panel, as well as our Austrian embassy host. As the first mentor of the JEMI pilot, I am very excited to be here, and I am very proud to share to have the opportunity to share my experience with you. My experience with JEMI started this year at the Marie Curie Alumni Association annual conference that took place in February 11. During the mentoring session within this event, Victoria informed us about the JEMI vision and mission, and about the involvement of the MCAA North America and beyond in this project. She highlighted how the JEMI project aims to empower researchers from and working in Europe to achieve their full potential by providing a bottom-up, comprehensive mentoring platform to build and maintain networks for their research career advancement. I immediately thought that this was an amazing initiative. In particular, I was struck by the idea of a transatlantic mentoring program that brings together mentors and mentees from Europe and North America in order to enable scientists to build and maintain networks within the European science ecosystem and to advance and develop their careers. It is a fantastic contribution to the global science community, encouraging support and collaboration with other researchers with connections to Europe. For this reason, when the MCAA Academy and Marco Masia contacted me, I quickly decided to become part of the JEMI pilot in order to add my enthusiastic support to this important project from the very beginning. My idea is to give back some of what I received in my research career thanks to Europe and European programs. I wanted to help develop careers, personal growth, relationships, and offer guidance to my potential mentees. Indeed, Europe has supported me throughout my research career. Thanks to European funding programs, I have been able to make a strong contribution to the advancement of my research field, and I developed new skills through my active membership of the Marie Curie Alumni Association. As Marco Masia said, this global network of researchers is open to any past or present researchers supported by the Marie Skłodowska Curie actions. And on this occasion, I would also like to highlight that this program is one of the European Union's flagship initiatives to provide research grants supporting researchers at all stages of their career across all disciplines. Thanks to my first Marie Curie Global Fellowship, I carried out my research at the Institute of Fine Arts at New York University. Although I have already built up a substantial experience in research management in Europe and in mentoring at European and Italian universities, for me it has nonetheless been a stimulating experience to work at NYU, where I was in contact with a new culture with different practices and procedures for project management, as well as PhD student supervision and postdoc mentoring. During this period, I enhanced and built bridges between North America and the European scientific communities in my field of research. These bridges are enabling the development of my research career, despite the fact that in my research fields, the social sciences and humanities, the number of permanent positions opening each year has decreased substantially. Particularly in Southern and Eastern Europe, many researchers in these research fields struggle with high levels of job insecurity, impacting more strongly the experienced and talented researchers. For this reason, and on the basis of my own personal experience and resilience, I am deeply motivated to give my support in pursuing the JEMI objectives, to advocate for European intellectuals by providing a comprehensive range of learning opportunities, and to expand the scope of European-funded services and support available for European researchers worldwide, especially to the younger researchers in North America, to connect back with Europe. So, as I said, I enthusiastically accepted to volunteer my time to share my expertise in research career development through the Joint European Mentoring Initiatives pilot program in North America. The JEMI team informed me that I had been matched with one of the 30+ Mentee applications, making me one of their pairs for the pilot program, not only in order to help the Mentee achieve their targeted goal for the 2018, but also to be a great asset to their overall research career development. Like all the mentors from the pilot program, I was selected based on the recommendation and experience of MCAA and JEMI representatives. I have been paired with a postdoctoral research fellow at the American Museum of Natural History. Her name is Claudia, and she is an Austrian wildlife scientist with a broader interest in ecology and conservation of mammals occurring across fragmented and human-altered landscapes. Our first Skype meeting, which took place in October, was a very positive and pleasant conversation. We soon felt comfortable, and we were very excited to meet. It's important that this part. I listened to her attentively in order to understand her most urgent issues. She is working in New York, but her dream is to come back in Europe. I provided her encouragement, helping her to identify and assess her priorities at this moment of her life and her research career in order to develop it step by step. I discussed with her the opportunities offered by the European programs, and particularly by the Marie Skłodowska Curie individual fellowships. We also considered the possible host institution in Europe able to develop the potential of her international, interdisciplinary, and intersectorial project. I sent her the documents related to the next call for Marie Skłodowska-Curie individual fellowships. She is now engaged in reading these documents and in preparing the questions for me for our next Skype meeting in mid-December. The news is that we already arranged to meet this evening, and we are very excited to meet us in person.
I told you I would get emotional.
Okay. I hope to help her prepare a successful proposal on the basis of my experience as a two-time winner of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie individual fellowships. Seeing her be successful in this would make me very happy. Meanwhile, the JEMI team asked us about the evaluation of our experience in order to know how the program is going for us so far. They have now read our evaluations with great attention and have looked into how the team can best implement some of the suggestions the JEMI team received from me as a mentor and from my mentee. I think that the next step will be to meet on JEMI's platform and to connect us with one another to share our experiences so far, I think. In conclusion, I am confident that this wonderful initiative, congratulations, will allow European researchers outside Europe to take advantage of best practices from other systems and to integrate it into their professional career development schemes. I think that JEMI will contribute to promoting broader pan-European and global collaborative projects. As a baseline platform, the JEMI project will highlight the quality of European academics and emphasize the value of European influence in US and North America. As Victoria Bodnarova emphasized 11, the JEMI project has a goal for the advancement of the European research area. Its full implementation is the main research policy objective of the European Union, as per Article 179 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. The transnational research across the whole of Europe and beyond is instrumental not only for leveraging the achievement of a fully functional European research area, but also for Europe to be part of a global research area that embraces open science in the coming years. For this reason, as Dimah Mahmoud said, the JEMI project is not only a knowledge-sharing tool, but also an investment in a global-oriented European identity and ultimately the future. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, and actually there is quite some pressure, because also as a scientist, this is my first speech without a PowerPoint, and I maybe have had some mentoring on this at some point. So thank you very much for the invitation and for giving me the opportunity to be here today with all of you. And I'm very happy to share with you my experience with the JEMI pilot program as a mentee. So briefly on my background, I'm currently doing my PhD research at the University of Toronto, where I study ice forming processes in clouds towards improved climate and weather models. I came to Canada for this research about a bit over 3 years ago, after I completed all my undergraduate, so bachelor and master level studies in Germany, where also originally I'm from, and after 1 year of additional research experience in Switzerland. Just as a background information to where I am in my career, my PhD program at the University of Toronto is a 5-year program, and this fall I started the 4th year of my graduate studies. So as I mentioned today, I'm very happy to share with you my experience with the JEMI program, where I'm a mentee since also September of this year. So for me, as a European conducting PhD research at a North American university, JEMI is an invaluable and, in terms of timing, perfect opportunity to build new networks or connections to Europe and to, in some way, relearn to navigate the ever-evolving European research landscape. Before I give you specific examples for this and why it is so invaluable for me, I would like to give you an insight, similar as Angela did, to how does the mentoring for me and my mentor actually looks like. My mentor and I, we were paired or connected by the JEMI team in early September this year via email. And about a week later, we had our first Skype video call, which was also for us very exciting to meet each other. As my mentor currently lives in Belgium and I'm in Toronto, we figured that having a weekly Skype call on a Friday, in my case early afternoon, so that would be actually right now, and for her it's after her work week, worked out best. So we're meeting every Friday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, for our Skype call. Our Skype call usually lasts for 1 to 1.5 hours, where we discuss 1 to 2 topics related to career planning, research, and other skills in depth. Very often, and I'm very grateful for this, my mentor is also sharing additional resources and good reads about the topics that we discussed with me afterwards via email, and we sometimes continue the discussion on email or even WhatsApp. Additionally to this, and I'm very grateful for this as well, she puts me in contact with people from her network that she thinks or that may be a good connection for me for my research career and future plans. So now I want to give you specific examples and insights why the JEMI mentoring every week is so valuable to me. First of all, how it all started. JEMI came, as I said, at the very perfect time for me. When I first learned about this new program, it was when I met Dimah at a conference in Montreal earlier this year, I think around May, and I think it was pure luck that we met and talked about this. At this point, I was already long enough in Canada, so almost 3 years at that point, and more than halfway through my PhD that I started also thinking about what comes next, where I'm heading, and where I'm at the moment. While I personally used the first few years, so the first 2-3 years of my PhD time in Canada, to fully immerse in my new environment and try to learn as much as possible about my new home and the academic system in Canada. At some point, after this roughly 3 years, I also started to reflect, what do I still know about Europe and my home country, Germany? And it was, to some degree, was surprising to realize that, but this is not only happening to me, this also happens to other PhD or postdoctoral researchers I know from Europe who are in Canada, that you realize that you disconnect quite quickly. Already after 2 years, you lose the constant update that you otherwise get in your European environment. So I started to research and reach out to see what is out there, to stay updated, to get the latest developments in terms of funding opportunities, research directions in Europe. And JEMI, for this reason, came at a perfect time for me to reconnect and to learn in a very intense way what is going on and how can I connect back. So my being detached situation, I call it, is also certainly to some degree was my very own choice, and I see it as also very beneficial to do so a deep dive into another academic culture for a little while. I also understand that the fact that I went to Canada without any funding from my home country for my research abroad contributed to this detachment in some way. So I know that researchers who come to North America to conduct postdoctoral PhD research with funding from home countries, they sort of automatically get into a bigger network that they can further grow through their funding agencies. For European researchers like me who go abroad on their own, we lack this network back home, back to Europe, but it's nevertheless also important to us, and we also have an interest in staying connected, maybe going back and seeing opportunities in Europe and in our home countries. So I see JEMI to be a tremendous opportunity to get into a strong European research network for researchers who don't have it automatically through their funding agency, that adds to further develop their own career and potential collaborations. So those are sort of my main freestanding points. So first is like the timing. I speak in the perspective of a PhD candidate, so roughly halfway through a PhD was for me the good timing to start thinking what comes next and to prepare and have enough time not to be rushed in what I need to learn and what I want to learn. And also the immense value of the program for European researchers who went abroad independently. Now in the second part, I want to talk about the JEMI matching criteria. And I want to start to talk about differences between my mentor and me. Also that always difference had something more negative. I found some of them very valuable, and I can name two which I really enjoy that they are existing. Firstly, my mentor and I, we come from different European countries. My mentor is originally from Portugal, and I am originally from Germany. And this leads that we have different perspectives, different educational backgrounds already coming from Europe to North America. And I find personally this adds so much learning also to our mentoring sessions to learn about another European country and culture, which I very much appreciate. And I think it also strengthens research collaborations, not only between North America and Europe, but also within Europe. And we cross with this mentoring national boundaries to learn from each other as well within the European Union. The second difference that we, both my mentor and I, value is that we come from two different sub-disciplines within the natural sciences. I'm in atmospheric climate research and she's in conservation biology. And I find it very valuable, I guess, for both of our fields to learn from each other, to learn what is out there, how they approach problems, how certain topics are addressed. And this is something through the mentoring is much easier to access than if I would have to start reading or meeting other scientists from other sub-disciplines. And it also broadens your network because in these, especially atmospheric science, it's more of a smaller community overall. In some way, you, through your supervisors, through your education, you already know a good part of this community, and I find it very beneficial to go beyond that and further grow your network and your understanding of other sub-disciplines in the natural sciences. I can speak of the natural sciences, but I could believe that this is true for other disciplines, social sciences, humanities, or medical sciences as well. On the opposite, we have differences that, or on the opposite to differences, there are similarities between me and my mentor, which are very valuable. And the first one that I find maybe easy to match in selection criteria is that we both, so I currently do research in Canada and she used to do her Marie Curie fellowship in Canada. And I think this is a very important matching criteria, especially for the people who go to Canada. It tends to be a little underrepresented also at meetings to actually match the European researchers who went to Canada, because the experience, the research landscape, funding, things are different than in the US. And for me, it is very nice to be understood, to see how we, in a similar way, some things experienced and approached, but also how we experience certain things very differently. And that helps to reflect, I guess, for my mentor, I hope, and learn, and also for me to maybe get really good advice on how to tackle certain challenges that I may face in Canada, or how to better use other opportunities that I did not value as much maybe already. The second similarity, and I realized this is not as straightforward and maybe not easy to navigate in the matching criteria, maybe that was pure luck, but I'm very grateful of this, is that I have been matched with a mentor who is a researcher in natural sciences, as I mentioned before, but we both do have an interest in the science and policy interface and the science diplomacy. She's actually already working in that field, and that is for me really, since I started my PhD, I developed that interest in the field as well. It is a decision at some point, I guess, to make or to work with both fields, being a researcher and a science policy interface, and it's invaluable to me to hear from her experiences and getting advice how to further develop my understanding in the field and how to maybe implement this in my career plans. So I hope I can come to a summary now. So my summary is like, as part of academia, many researchers, as we all know, do go abroad, and like me, they learn a lot about a new country, culture, culture and specifically another research culture and landscape. However, at some point, I'm sure for most of them or all of them, it will be of interest to connecting back home to where they come from, as it is also important for me. And in these situations, programs like the JEMI mentoring are, in my opinion, or in my experience, a fantastic way to reconnect and to grow your own career and potential future collaborations. And whether I will stay abroad, maybe in Canada, maybe somewhere else, or if I may go back to Europe or even Germany, the perspectives, insights, and network that I gained through the JEMI program will stay with me and make my future research connections between Canada and Europe, and also within the European countries, for sure much stronger. So thank you very much for this program, and I hope many other mentees in the future can benefit from it. Thanks.
I saw a tear drop from Vicky's eye. I win.
I did it as well.
You did? Okay. Yes. Wow. Well, first of all, I really wish we were that sophisticated in the matching process. It was black marker, redact names, redact nationalities, redact. It was goals and research, not even research fields.
No, we just looked at your guys' motivations and the goals that you had.
Yeah, I think the questions were what you're trying to achieve and what you will be bringing into the mentoring relationship that we were able to match between the other applications. But great pointers that we sure will put into effect for the next round on how to really make this relationship representative of both the mentor and the mentee. I want to thank you all for sharing with us your experience, and at this point I'd like to open the floor for questions if you have any, and if not, I know I have plenty. Any questions about the Joint European Mentoring Initiative? Anyone hear about JEMI up until this point? Okay. Not you two, obviously. Thank you. Thanks. All right, questions, please. Do we have a microphone, Vicky? I'm just going to join you down there.
Hi, my name is Nam. I'm a cancer researcher in the US. I just want to ask you, it's a very great program. So how do you judge the success of the program, say 5 years from now? Because in the US, in the tenure track, you have to show in your CV that you have mentored successfully those mentees. You have to put their name, how they were before, and what success they have achieved. For example, I have an ex-resident at the University of Arizona. He became a star researcher. So we used it to build up your CV because you have to prove that you are able to mentor. So how do you judge the success of your program?
Thank you for the question. From the formality standpoint of how we're checking the success, we haven't quite defined specific criteria yet. What we have defined for the pilot program currently is that the mentor as well as the mentee have agreed to document their path and their progress as they're going along. We heard from Ellen that she has weekly meetings with her mentor. The success is constantly being documented and shared with JEMI so that we can see if there is any support that we can provide along the way, anything that we can change in regards to the structure of the program, and so that we can learn and look at the end of the pilot program what it is that we need to do going forward to make the framework that we work within and that we provide for you guys even more effective and efficient. And maybe one of you or the two of you want to kind of share how individually you with your mentor, you kind of see the progress week by week and how you communicate that back to JEMI.
Well, just to add, before having the personal experience chip in, what we did specifically for the pilot, again, this is, and we had a disclaimer from the beginning saying that we are learning as we go how we will make this program work, because yes, as much as we're passionate about the vision and the mission of it, we still need to sort out the logistics of it all. And while we do have 21 people signed up to volunteer for the management team, again, we didn't want to go to them and ask for their help before we can have a pilot to the pilot, if you will. So how we aim to measure the success for the pilot is that we've asked each each mentee what the goal they are hoping to achieve for for the pilot round. Now, I think the question was specifically for 2018, and again, because this is a learning curve, we were learning that we were a bit too ambitious in our timeline, and that we were hoping maybe the pilot would start as early as June or July, and actually didn't start until September. So from September to December is the pilot to the pilot, and then they will have a full year to experience this mentoring program, and then from there on, they will have the option to either set a new goal for 2019 that we can assess how it moves forward, or we might need to, again, meet with the management team and find another measure. Thank you. And if you want to add how you would measure your mentor. No?
May I add something?
Please?
Yeah, so actually it's very difficult to measure impact of the effect of mentoring. It's a kind of a soft impact, and it's in the long term. I'm also mentor of the New York Academy of Sciences. So what the New York Academy of Sciences uses, it's an online platform to match mentors and mentees. It's kind of IT tool that is used also by many companies. And this IT tools is used usually to measure the short-term impact. By short-term, I mean you just define few goals that you want to reach in 6 months with your mentor, and then there is a kind of midterm review of those goals, and then at the end of the mentoring program, you say how happy you are with reaching those goals. But on the other side, there is also a long-term impact of the mentoring program that is much more difficult to measure. And it's kind of more of a relationship thing between the mentor and the mentee. And it's something that maybe would last for 1 more year or maybe for a lifelong. So just yesterday, Dimah mentioned that she met a lady who is 68 or something like that. And her mentor is 87. And they started when she was a student at the university, right? So for sure, this mentoring was very successful. But it's very difficult to measure impact. So just to sum up, I would say that a short-term impact can be measured in terms of reaching the goals and how happy mentors and mentee are with those goals. But then there is also a kind of long-term thing that it's more difficult. And maybe we would know about this pilot in 5 years, how successful it was.
I can add quickly. So from my experience, it's actually a difficult question how you see the success. You sort of have a direct goal or a project you're working on with your mentee. We don't have that in that sense, but it is the impact that all the discussions and knowledge he shares with me and everything has. And maybe in terms of measuring success or quality insurance, it may be more important to ensure like the right matches, and to down the road, if there will for sure be matches that don't work out, where people are not happy or don't learn as much, and then it will not happen that much, to maybe more ensure that there is a confidential or a good way that mentor or mentee can share their concerns. So like, oh, I don't come along with that person as well. And then there may be opportunities to like change the mentor-mentee matching. I think it's more that what is for me like saying that is successful, or it's the matching, which is difficult because we are all humans. We may work well together or not. And I hope for many it will be in the very first moment the right match, which it was for me, and I think for you as well. But to have this opportunity for the cases where it didn't work out that well.
Thank you so much for your panel. I know myself how important it is to have a mentor. Without that, I wouldn't be where I am now. So a question I have is, because both the mentor and the mentee, they both come from the hard sciences, natural sciences. So I'm wondering, what's your state right now? Are most signed up mentors and mentees from the natural sciences? Do you want to expand also, I think it's very important, into the social sciences and humanities?
Yes, absolutely. JEMI as a vision started as many eyes. I think it was first 5 eyes, so it was international, interdisciplinary, intersectorial, inclusive, and I want to say independent, but then there's so many other eyes that was inspiring, innovative, you name it. So the call was for all researchers, regardless of their discipline. Obviously, as this develops and as we have more people or more, I don't want to say manpower, women power. Well, we have more people in the management team that can come up with a way that we can specifically tap into a network of social science mentors or life sciences or so. I think that's the question that I'm going for. Correct me if I'm not answering your question, but as far as the disciplines of the science, we've had some of the reviews and they will be in the report that we hope to release end of this month for JEMI, and we're not sure whether it will be circulated with your access just yet. But one of the feedback from the mentors, the mentor is in one discipline, I believe, natural sciences, but the mentee was a social science. And you see the interest, the comment about, it's interesting to see that how different some of the challenges can be, but also how similar, and how an experience that a social science researcher is going through in Norway could very well be the same for a French researcher in Japan. And these connections is part of what we're hoping JEMI will shed some light into. Where are these similarities, and is there some sort of guide that whatever your discipline is, you don't feel like you're alone, basically. You have that support. I hope that answers the question.
I think that in this moment, it's important that the mentee, for example, my mentee, has she needs to learn how to prepare a proposal, and on the basis of my experience, I can to help her. I am a humanist, and for me it's impossible to know the specific field of her research, but I can tell her how to prepare, how to an overview and the inspiration of the project, the Marie Curie, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie individual fellowships. I think that this is an important point to give to the mentees.
Is it on? Yeah. Well, I would like to congratulate you all for this great program, and I would like to ask you about the role of a mentor. I've heard many complaints from PhD students about their supervisors, and we come to the conclusion that not every researcher makes a good supervisor. Are we assuming that every researcher can make a good mentor? What would be the basics to be a good mentor, and are you planning on some training for mentors?
Thank you for that question. No, we're not assuming anything. Let's just be honest. There's no assumptions here. This is where MCAA and having other networks join or contribute comes in very, very handy and is very important. And this goes to what Marco was talking about, but also what Simone was saying about JEMI not being in competition with pre-existing diasporas, but rather complementary. So if an organization like, or a network like Asina, who have had a functional mentoring program that has been going for a while, they already have a record of certain mentors who have that rapport, who they can then recommend yes or no to join, or at least give them the option, like how MCAA did. They sent the release, if you're interested, sign up here, and voila, it's done. So yes, we at this stage are depending on recommendations, simply because we don't have the capacity to do our research, to do our trainings as much as we would like to. But one of the feedback that we've gotten from both mentors and mentees for the evaluation is that it would be helpful to have an introductory panel, first separately with the mentors and then the mentees, and sort of just lay the framework of what to expect. And that was something that we simply didn't have the chance to do with everything else that was being juggled. But that's something we would like to move forward with. And I think, Marco, you have something to add, given your experience with the mentoring. Yeah?
I just wanted to add one more point about the resources that you mentioned earlier. We had at, I think, the last annual meeting or the one before, experts who were active trainers for mentors. And in our big vision, where I mentioned earlier, where I hope JEMI is going to go, we also have written down in many of the documents a train the trainer workshop setup that we want to provide for JEMI. So successful trainers, successful mentors, hopefully in the future will be able to pass on their experiences to new mentors coming in, where we can then provide a platform for mentors being in turn mentored by somebody who's done it more often before. Like you mentioned, you're mentoring somebody in another capacity as well. So that's something that we have in the back of our minds. That's part of our bigger vision. Unfortunately, not part of this pilot program. I think it takes many more mentors and mentees to be part of the program for us to actually tap the experience of those people and the skills so that we can put it together. But it's definitely in the back of our minds. And thank you for the question. It's very important.
Yeah, I would like to add something. Can you hear me? Yeah. It is about supervisors. It's true that most of the time they don't make good mentors, but it's just because they are not mentors. They are not meant to be mentors, okay? So in the vision of a mentoring scheme, usually the mentor is someone who has not any other interest than mentoring. And this means that I don't have any interest in if my mentee stays in the lab or tomorrow quit the lab to join a company, for example, and things like that. So the mentoring experience is kind of an enrichment experience. So you tap on ideas, experiences, and things like that from the mentors or from the mentee. And that's why many people are motivated to be mentors. So a first selection actually happens at that stage when you ask people, do you want to be mentor? And most of the people who don't have any interest in this kind of enrichment process, they just don't sign up for that. The other part is that, yes, you also need to be gifted somehow to be a good mentor, like to be a good communicator, to get your message through very clearly so that your mentee understands what you mean. And then there are also other things like, cultural differences. And most of the time, people who have traveled a lot, who have worked in different labs with many different nationalities, are kind of more flexible in that sense towards cultural differences. So it's easier for them to mentor people who are of another country and things like that.
In my experience, it's important to give a clear message, but it's important to listen. It's a very important because listen and to answer what the mentee want to do.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
You mentioned earlier that one potential goal from a mentee may be to transition from academia into industry. And so I was wondering if anybody in your pilot met that, or is that more of a future plan or potential of the program?
We are very proud to say that we have one mentor and mentee that are focusing specifically on industrial mentoring. And we're very excited to see how that goes. And yes.
If I can share without identifying who the pair is, I recently heard from them, and they're currently really actually working on a career transition, looking at placement opportunities, and like you said, your mentor was sharing her network with you. It's the same case with that one couple that's currently undergoing the transition where the mentee wants to move from academia to industry, and it looks very promising.
I think this leaves us with only 2 minutes, which personally I think is enough time to very warmly join me in thanking this panel for sharing this experience, and we'd be more than happy to take questions after and in the reception as well. Thank you very much.